All right, so officially welcome to Ask Me Anything Live. Today is Monday, March 8th, and I just got these new blue light blockers. I've been having all sorts of health issues, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it, but I've been reading about how blue light can totally screw up your circadian rhythm, and mine is totally screwed up. So we're going to go ahead and put these on anytime I'm in front of a screen. And I got an email question in. Sorry for the glare. Those are really glary. And if there is, let me see, let me run this through Yeti. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? And feel free to unmute if you've got a question. Hopefully my sound is coming through just fine. I took it off of computer because I've got these guys, we're getting our oil tank removed out of our front yard. It used to be an old oil furnace here, but there's lots of digging and banging going on. Hello, Denise. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? They do look good on you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure how let me see if I turn these off, if the glare isn't so bad. It's weird all around. I'm just going to deal with it. You know, if it helps my eyes, it helps my sleep, we're doing it. How are you?
I am doing well. I am full of questions. I think I can narrow it down to 2 or 3.
Okay, awesome. And I wanted you to know, and I apologize, I've taken quite a bit of time away from work because of health, Dr. Denise, but I did send out a query to my listserv, and I got quite a few responses, probably 5 or 6 that I'm going to put into a list for you. Attorneys that have worked with clients setting up businesses based outside of the U.S.
Okay.
So yeah, if you wanted to pursue that any further, I've got some attorneys that could help you with that.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of my questions is about incorporating in Wyoming.
Uh-huh.
I may have found a workaround. So if you can, does it matter if you live in one state, but your business is online only if you incorporate solely in Wyoming? How does that really work? And
Yeah. Nope. It's a great question. So I have several clients who have incorporated in Wyoming, and that can work well for somebody whose business is truly location independent. And these particular people are quite nomadic. They live outside of the United States. They travel around. So it really fits for them. In the States, you can do that as well. You can set up a business in Wyoming. The trick is that depending on where you live and where you work, you might still end up having to pay personal income tax based in your home state as well, right? So you cannot always escape the tax ramifications. And in certain instances, it may be because regardless of where you set up your business, there's this thing that's called nexus to the state. You have to have nexus. And let me just see. I feel like at one point I wrote a blog post about this. Let me just see if I can pull it up. You have to have nexus to the state, which is a list where, you've got to check off. Usually what it means is you've got an office or a location based there. There's Maureen. I didn't think Maureen was going to join us today.
I'm on another call, but I just jumped in.
Good to see you. No worries. So you have to have a physical location there. And if you are not yourself physically located in the state, then usually what it means is you need to register for office space. There are certain, just like you can get a registered agent in another state, you can also, pay a fee and actually have an office address listed in that state. You should visit that state. You should maybe hold your annual meeting in that state. Like there's other ways that you need to be actually connected in the state. It helps if you can set up a bank account in the state. If not, then the second best option is going with a virtual account related to that business. So an online account that is not a physical based bank. Mm-hmm. But it's better if you can actually have, your bank account located in that state as well. And there are certain services that will set up a bank account virtually for you. So registered agent, office address or physical nexus to the state, right? If you are required to get a business license there, like you want to check off all the boxes that you have registered your business properly in that state and you are doing business there. Now, Dr. Denise, remind me where you are based.
I am physically, I live in Atlanta, but the business it can be held anywhere. It's strictly online. And if there's any physical meetups, it's usually overseas in the Caribbean. So that was my concern about, and the owner of the business lives in a different state as well. So most of it, everything is online through digital courses or meetings such as this. And we just wanted to make sure that, you know, if Wyoming is if we chose Wyoming, what are the, you know, how does that pan out tax wise? And of course, as soon as we're open to travel again, we will be doing so, because that's the only reason we are held in place.
Totally. Oh, good, Wendy. Good to see you, lady. So Dr. Denise, I just posted a link to an article that I wrote a while ago about foreign, doing business in multiple states and what's called foreign qualification. But, and some people intentionally do business in multiple states. Other people might set up a business like in Wyoming or something, and then through some regulatory oversight end up finding out that they have to set up and report business in their own state as well. So if you look at the list of what is considered doing business, right, there's elements. You have or maintain a physical presence there. You have employees in the state. You accept orders or create revenue in the state. You meet with clients in the state. So the thing to be aware of is that even when you set up a business in Wyoming or one of these alternate states, you may actually still be required to set up a foreign corporation in your own state because of this physical nexus, right? Doing business. And if you're the one doing the majority of the work in your business, or you've got, you know, you're an employee of your business, you can end up having to basically create a second entity that is based in your own home state as well. So it's just something to be aware of, because every state, you know, regulatory oversight is just a little bit different. And some people, you know, will have something about their business reviewed, and then it's determined that they need to be reporting personal income tax on that income earned in Wyoming or whatever. So you just have to be aware that there is that risk. But
for online entrepreneur, this applies to digital entrepreneurs, like you have no.
Yeah, because you're still physically based somewhere, right? And you're still the one that receives that income. And so most states, you know, want to capture the income of people that are income earners in their state, living in their state. So, you know, there is just a certain amount of risk that goes along with setting up a business located in another state if you're not physically located there.
I see. Do you have you said virtual banks online? Do you have a list that you could share, perhaps in the email?
You know what? Yes, I actually have one. Yes, I don't know if they are still offering accounts. It's through Capital. Let me just go to their website. It's through Capital One, and it's called. I just wanted to make sure I spelled it right. Capital One. And I think mine is called the Spark account or Spark card. That was all virtual, and I set that up for my virtual business. But you could do a search for that, and in Google, if you ever want to see a comparison, just do Capital One Spark versus, and sometimes you'll get an auto-populate. So you might find other options for virtual bank accounts if you just go do a search.
Yes. And the last thing is, do you know of a CPA that is very versed in dealing with online entrepreneurs that have no physical presence?
Yes, I think, well, and let me, I could come up with several. I mean, I've got a list of small business CPAs that I refer people to, and so I could email that to you. Let me just make a note. I'm just going to open my email and make a and draft email so that way I don't forget. There we go, Denise Sincere. So I'm just going to do CPAs in the subject line. My own CPA is going to be a good one. He deals with all kinds of businesses, some of whom have a very strong online presence. So, you know, he'd be a great starting point. But certainly, you know, my recommendation around finding CPAs is interview several. I really, you know, people can often make mistakes with CPAs. I was on a panel recently as a speaker, and they had one CPA lined up to speak, and then they ended up bringing in somebody else. But I was kind of floored at some of the things he was saying. Like, I'm just going to say it. CPAs are like doctors or anybody else. There are good ones and there are bad ones. And the bad ones can do a lot of harm to your business because they will keep you stuck. They're going to keep you playing small. They're going to tell you you don't have enough money yet for certain things. And this is not what I want to hear from a CPA. What I want on your team is questions like, where are you headed? What are you trying to build? How can I help you get there? Let's make sure that we set up a relationship where I'm meeting with you every quarter and they're actually helping you build the pathway to where you're headed. They're not one of these people that's like, oh, you didn't make enough money. You don't need to set up, you don't need to incorporate. You don't need to set up an LLC because you just, I hear that and it floors me because they're not in the business of keeping your business growing and keeping you safe. They're purely in the business of numbers. That's what an accountant that talks like that does. But some accountants are very strategic and they will understand your map. They'll ask you about your map. Where are you headed? What are you trying to build? And they're going to help you make strategic decisions to get there. That's the kind of person I want you to be working with on the CPA side. But in my experience, there are a ton of CPAs that are very conservative. So just be aware of that. Make sure that you build your team that supports you in planning for where you're headed, not just for staying where you are.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And the ones that you're going to send me are they usually work specific to online entrepreneurs?
Well, they work specifically with small businesses, but I've had clients that are brick and mortar. I've had clients that are strictly online. I've had clients that are combo of both. And so you really are just going to have to interview them and connect with somebody that you vibe with, that matches, the type of business that you want to create. And certainly one of the questions to ask people, I was just going to actually pull up another article that I wrote to share it here, which is how do you choose a CPA? One of the other questions is ask them, who do you serve? Who are the kinds of businesses that you work with? And make sure that they work with clients that are aligned with where you want to be going. CPA, let me just find this article. Here we go. So I'll just share this, and then, outside of this call, you can go take a look at that as well. Because for anybody looking to hire an accountant or work with a CPA, there's just some things, and it's just a quick list of things that I walk you through that will help you get clear on what you are really wanting in a CPA or an accountant.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And finally, do you, if I wanted to speak with you 30 minutes or so offline about more in depth, how can I go about doing so?
Yeah, absolutely. I can also, when I email you the CPA list, I'll send you a link to my consultation page, Denise. So
okay.
I'll send that over as well.
I appreciate that. So I want to be crystal clear before we make any move.
Absolutely. No, it's so good to.
So like the only alternative is to do everything for free. And I'm like, the passion is there to do it at that level, but I'm like, why when you're already invested so much to build, and then this thing came up and it's like, okay, time to
take care of it. Yeah, totally. Well, good work. And it does take a little groundwork. It does take fitting together pieces of the puzzle, doing some information gathering. So it's great that you're doing that.
Yes. We want everybody safe and sound, and
totally
when everything is said and done. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll look at your email afterwards.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to see you today. All right. So I still see Glenn and Wendy and Maureen. And Maureen, I know you sent me an email, and I also know you're on another call. But Wendy and Glenn, if either of you have a question or want to go live, or if Maureen, you can go live, I would welcome any questions.
Turn it over to Kim. I would love to ask my question if I could jump in.
Totally.
So you already got the email. So I didn't think I would be able to. So I'm sort of listening out of
No,
both ears
that's all
here.
right.
But I'm part of a group of end-of-life doulas, and we've
Mhm.
just formed an SCorp. And we're
Okay.
starting to put together our educational material and getting out there. But we were
Mhm.
wondering for legal disclaimers,
Mhm.
what we need. Do we need it on everything we put out? How do we go about it? And like I said, I had looked on your website and I thought, oh, I just have to jump on this meeting.
Totally, totally. So, so you've either set up a C corp or an LLC, and you made an S corp election, which is a tax
Yes.
election
Yes.
status. Yes.
That's what we've done.
And then for the work that you're doing, because where disclaimers normally show up, and this is just where I would ask a series of questions around what are you doing? Is this around online education? Is it around, is it that kind of stuff?
It's online education. A couple of the doulas are actually doing work with clients,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of our work is going to be education,
Okay.
online education, and when things open up, more in-person education also.
Okay, got it. So you've been through my website protection package stuff. It's the same stuff. You
Is
would
it the
need,
same stuff?
It's the same stuff. You would need the website protection package that is done for that new entity, right?
Okay.
So you would
I
want
saw that on your website, but I thought I'm going to just ask you about the legal. So that's all it.
if you're doing online education, yes, you need your website terms and conditions, you need your privacy policy, you need disclaimers, because doulas are licensed professionals, just like in the nursing profession.
No,
Oh,
they're not.
Oh, they're not.
No, they're not regulated.
Interesting.
But see, all of us hold professional licenses
Yeah. Okay.
in other.
Well, okay. So maybe that's the overlap, because I've got some friends who are doulas, and I was thinking it was separately licensed, but they're also nurses or massage therapists or.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of that professional license, I mean, if somebody is licensed professionally, they're going to want to be very careful when they get into the online education space that people are not misunderstanding what their role is, right? Because that could put their professional license at risk.
Right.
So, so for your folks in the collective that are doing in-person services or doing their normal client service work, you're going to want, the standard client services agreement, some kind of agreement that covers the work that they're doing. And certainly you would have disclaimers in there. You would have limitations of liability. That is very much going to be a custom document. For your online work, if it's really education related, it's going to be the same core documents, website terms and conditions, but done for the new company, privacy policy, as well as is it online education right now that you're selling? Like, is it going to be educational webinars and courses that people
Yes.
can purchase into? Yeah.
Yes.
So terms of purchase for that stuff, and your disclaimers not only on the site and the sales page, but within the terms of purchase as well for the content that you're selling.
Okay. And then do we need to post these disclaimers like on every video we do, or?
I mean, if you're as a licensed professional, I'd want to see it, or you can say it verbally, right? I'm a licensed whatever, whoever's teaching the course, but understand that this video is for informational purposes only, right? This video is an educational training, this is what you're going to be learning about. The goal at any point is that the consumer of our services has a lot of clarity about what it is they're consuming. And so whether you do that verbally, whether you do that through a little freeze frame on your video that has standard language each time, the reality is that you can't, I don't want people to feel like they have to overdo it, but you can't overdo it when it comes to clarity, right? The goal is clarity.
Yeah, that's what I'm all for, overdoing it.
Some people freak out if they're like, wait, I have to put disclaimer here and here and here and here. And it's like, well, you can really evaluate your own process and put it in a way that feels authentic, that touches on it and then gracefully moves through. It doesn't have to be a big ordeal, but people do need to be aware of who you are, what information they're consuming, and how it fits for them.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'll probably be contacting you about all this.
Okay, no worries. Good
And I'm
to
going to
see
jump
you,
off now.
Maureen. No
Good to
worries.
see you too. Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
bye-bye. Alrighty, Wendy, lady, good to see you.
You too. The two things that I was going to talk to you about, Denise and Maureen have kind of touched on, this kind of, I live in Vegas now, but I have my house in New York, I have my house in Vegas, and, my business is incorporated as an LLC. I'm taxed as a corporation in New York. And so, I was just trying to figure out what I need to do about that. So I got some information, because I heard that. So
yeah, is your business based in New York? Because that's where you moved from. It is.
It is.
And then you recently relocated to Nevada.
Yeah.
Is your plan, because I heard you just say you still have your home
I have both
in New
houses.
York.
Yeah. And my house in New York is my primary residence, like I haven't changed my
okay, and you're not selling it or
no.
Okay.
But I do get mail in Vegas, I've forwarded some things, whatever, but everything is still New York based, although it's better for a business in Vegas.
I was going to say, you're going to have better tax advantages being based in Vegas.
So what do I need to do to change that? Do I need to now do another LLC in Vegas? Or?
You could set up basically a foreign corporation or a new entity, because I assume you're not yet incorporated in Nevada.
No, I'm not.
But Nevada historically has been very favorable for businesses. I know that they did raise their filing fee. There's a tax fee or something. It jumped because my accountant does a lot of business in both California and Nevada, but they basically had a budget shortfall a couple years ago, and so they had to yank up prices in Nevada
but it's still worth it because it's so favorable. So
it's very, very favorable. Laws are going to be favorable. A lot of the protections that apply to like keeping personal information personal, like people have a fairly good time at that in both Nevada and Wyoming. So you may consider actually closing your New York LLC and setting up in Nevada. And I'd probably set up in Nevada first, right? And then, and I'm wondering, because there may be a process we could
transfer
to either transfer or to actually set up a foreign corporation of your original business in Nevada before closing down the home base.
Okay.
And actually my CPA might be a great one to ask about that, because I'm sure he's helped people through moves.
Yeah, I was looking for a new CPA also.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So let me just pull up his name and I can post it right here in the chat. He has a very interesting name, Weldon Woolstein. WW, let me see. Here we go. I'm just going to pull up his, I don't know if his logo is going to carry over to the chat, but let me see what it will let me paste. There we go. Okay. So there's his address, his phone, his email. You're welcome to email him and just say, hey, Heather introduced me to you. He's based in South Lake Tahoe. So I think he's on the California side, but he is going to know. He works with clients all over the U.S.
Okay. So
yeah, he'd be a great connection for you on figuring out strategically how to deal with that entity.
Perfect. That was one of my main questions.
Awesome.
Another one, it was sort of like Maureen in that, I'm finally getting all of my tech stuff together. I've been in this for a long time and been doing it with Band-Aids and tape and bubble gum, and I've been successful with it, but I'm a grown up now. And so, so Michelle and Brad are doing all my tech and all of that stuff. So that, and I did the program with you. So I have all of that stuff done. So I was just really thinking about, I'm doing a challenge. Jay has me doing a challenge. It's called Tackle Your Taxes, because I work, my program is Worthy and Wealthy. And so I did the videos and I said like 150 times, like, I am not a tax professional. This is really not really about taxes, but you will learn some things, but you need to check it out for your own state or city or country or whatever. So I've said that 100 times, and I was just wondering whether I needed to post it as well someplace. And so that was the other thing.
Because it's a challenge about taxes, tackle your taxes. Yeah. What's the content? What are you walking people through?
So I'm really leading them to, like my masterclass is about like, you don't have to be afraid of this. It was inspired because I got audited, and I took it as a, I didn't do anything wrong because they are auditing me, like it doesn't mean I did anything wrong. So I want to teach people that, like, don't be afraid. And I sent them 57 pages of response because I have all the information and I'm not afraid to look at my money and afraid to, and so that's what I'm trying to teach people, that you can take control, you can be calm and you can take control. And so, it's things like, your filing status matters, like if you're single, then that's one thing, but this is the layperson's version. Like, I'm not telling you how to file. I'm just saying, like, don't just assume because you're married, you need to file together. You might do better itemizing than doing standard, like that's the kind of information I'm telling people. And also how to have a dance
you're
party.
Helping them. I love that.
During it.
You're helping them issue spot.
Yeah.
You're helping them ask the right questions.
Absolutely.
And
that's all it's about.
Yeah. So certainly you might have a disclaimer that says, look, I'm not a tax professional. I'm not going to be telling you how to do your taxes. We're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about mindset related to money. We're going to be talking about what questions you should be asking yourself, right? And so I would just make it very clear at the beginning, like it's a little bit like the layman's disclaimer, right? The layman's version of what it is you're walking through, so that people understand you're not a tax professional, you're not a CPA, they're not getting that kind of stuff. And just have that clearly posted somewhere, especially on the, whatever it is, the opt-in page that gets them into the email sequence or whatever.
Right. Okay. All right. Those were my things. And I just happened to see your email, and
awesome.
I love you. So
it's so good to see you. So are you back home? I mean, home, I guess. Are you
I'm
in Nevada? Oh, you are in New York.
I'm in New York now because my dad died in Vegas with us. And so I'm here handling everything here. I'm here for a couple weeks.
Okay.
And so
I didn't know if it was a quick trip over and back or if you were there for a while.
No, I'm actually here total for 3 weeks. So it's just been here. I've been here for a week and, handling all the stuff at my dad's and stuff. So my sister's back in Vegas now. So, that too, just kind of figuring out, but, I own my house. I'm not moving, and I have been, and I'm not going to sell it. So, but thinking in terms of the business, I'm going to reach out to this person to just say, what should I do? Can you give me a consultation to kind of talk this through and figure out what it is that I need to do?
He's great because he can think about it strategically from a tax perspective. He's also very, very good with entity formation. He helped me revamp my entities so that strategically they all play nice together, like from a tax perspective, right? So he's very good.
Awesome. So those were my questions, and thank you, Denise, because I came right in and I was like, oh my God, she's talking about what I'm listening for. So thank you. Nice to meet you. And also Maureen, this kind of thought about, I don't even play a tax professional on TV. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. And so I just want to make sure. So I did it in the videos, but you just made me think about, like, in the copy, I just finished all the copy and sent it to them to do a disclaimer kind of thing there too.
And where I would like to see a disclaimer on the landing page, like when they're opting into the email sequence, is very at or near the, like, often right below the sign up here, right? Doesn't have to be above. That's usually where you've got, like, your, if they're purchasing something, terms of purchase. In the case of a free opt-in, right, you're going to have links to your privacy policy or whatever. But definitely a disclaimer right there, so they're like, oh, okay, I'm not getting tax advice, And then the other thing is if you are directing them, because I'm guessing if it's a 5-day challenge, you spend some time in your Facebook group.
Yes.
You'll want to create a little disclaimer that you post or pin or put somewhere that's very visible inside of the group.
Okay.
Right? That just is a reminder. Hey, this is what we're doing. I'm not a tax professional or whatever, so that people cannot make some financial decision based on your advice and come back and say, well, Wendy gave me tax advice. No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. Okay, cool. That makes sense. I would not have thought about that either. I mean, I teach for I coach for a big coaching company. And I always say to them, I'm like, I am not telling you what to do. Do not ever say Wendy told me. And then when you're mad, then you come back and say this. Like I say it every single week. I do a Monday call with them and I'm like, I am encouraging you to, work the process of this thing, but I am not telling you what to do. And, so
that's right.
Yeah,
totally.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. You might, the final thought that I have is I don't know what all is being put into your email sequence as far as copy goes, but one additional thing is you could put right at the front of that email sequence, like, welcome, so great to have you. Here's what you should know to get started. P.S. As a reminder, I am not a tax advisor. This is the kind of thing we're going to be covering. You are, of course, always advised to reach out to your own CPA or financial whatever, like whoever the financial professionals are in their life if they have any questions.
Awesome.
So,
I will do that.
That's the other thing I would just plug in
the
there
landing
somewhere.
page to sign up for the challenge in the group itself, because that's where we're doing the challenge, and on the email.
A little PS. Yep, just plug it in as a reminder.
I will definitely do those. I sent my copy to Michelle and them yesterday. They were like, oh, you had a busy weekend.
Yeah.
Surprise. Surprise, I'm done. Okay. Here's 30 pages,
Oh my gosh, you're awesome.
I'm going to do that. So thank you. Those were my
you're
questions. And so it was just divine that I opened my email and there you were. So, I love you.
I love you too. I'm so happy to see you.
Hang
in there and good luck with your time in New York.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Much love. And nice to meet you, Denise and Glenn.
I know. And Glenn, if you're still on and you've got a question, you're welcome to unmute. I've also got the chat open, but would love to help you if you've got a question today. And if you're in a place where you can't ask a question, I totally understand. We'll give you a minute here. Dr. Denise, did you have any other questions or anything else?
So yes, are you familiar with people who are unable to be employed in the U.S., how they can go about earning?
I know, I saw that. I wish I was. It's so unfortunate that we do that. And that's why I was hoping that one of those other attorneys would have some experience with that, with, out of country business formation, because I personally just don't have any experience with that. Even though I did some employment law work early on, which included some disability stuff. It didn't have to do with like post disability status. So yeah, but I could certainly reach out to some other folks in my network to see if anybody else has specific experience, because I really just asked about that business formation outside of the US. I didn't describe the scenario.
Okay.
So, we'll just see, but I'm very happy to send you the list of attorneys that responded. There were quite a few, and then, we can go from there.
Okay. Hopefully that'll be beneficial, because the parties involved are dual citizens as well. So I'm like, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
if that's a battle,
Right.
So.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Do you know where the other citizenship is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. So you might, because that could be, and you'll see when I make the list, like certain attorneys responded with, I've got experiences with these countries, or I've got experiences. So you can see if any of them seem to be a better fit based on that.
Okay.
But if they're not, I can certainly ask around or kind of cast a broader net to see if we can get any additional referrals.
Yeah, because I've been scraping the, Google, and I'm like, it's so much information out here, and then you come up with something else, and they're saying, those other websites are just there to make you feel like they conform and answer questions. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to know what is the correct advice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I said, okay, it'd be unfortunate. Worst case scenario is everything would just be shut down, and I'll go sit in a rocking chair and be like, oh well. But I'm a bit too young for that.
No,
But
right? I know.
yeah,
Yes.
but it's just interesting, and I know there's a lot of people doing it. I didn't realize until you mentioned the word nomad how many nomad entrepreneurs were actually on. I didn't even know it was called that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm a global citizen, I'd like to travel and
Totally.
show you where I am, and
Totally.
keep to your
Yes.
spirit and keep moving.
That's right.
And
There are a lot of nomadic entrepreneurs. And so that, especially post COVID, like you may have more options available to you depending on what your, living status is. Like if you're permanently a resident of a certain place, if you've got more flexibility than that. So,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Spark is just a credit card.
Spark it's I think it's a type of account. Let me see.
Okay.
I think it might be a type of account. Capital One Spark. Let me just Google Spark Business.
Because it looked like it was coming up as a card for
as
business.
A credit card. Yeah, it's not a credit card. It's actually bank accounts, but maybe maybe it's not Spark. Maybe I inserted that. Let me just go to my Capital One login and let me see if it tells me what the name of the accounts are. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Capital One. Let me just go here and see. I thought it was Spark, but maybe it's not. I really think it is. Let me pull out my card. I think it's Spark, but it's Spark Business. But it's not a credit card. It's actually a business checking, business savings.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's Spark Checking, Spark Savings. So they might also have a Spark credit card. I don't have a credit card there. I have just fundamental banking.
And do you know if it's international at all?
Well, I do all of my banking online, meaning I don't go to an ATM to like pull out money, although I think you probably could. It is, I just do all of my deposits and transfers virtually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then you get assigned physical cards, right? So you can use them just like regular bank cards, which is, helpful for your business if you're making purchases or doing transactions or whatever.
Right. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. And let me see. I'm gonna see Wyoming.
So it came up Capital One Small Business Thinking. Okay. But at least I know to look for savings and checkings.
Yeah,
And totally. For international banks that take all types of currency and
oh yeah. I don't know
as well. Okay. And let me just say this is not about evasion, right? This is the ability to share your gifts because you're not dead.
I totally get it.
You're in a situation but you're not dead.
Yes. No,
I know how much I put in the email to you. I just didn't want to, I'm like.
I am not offended. I would love for people to all be working at whatever level they can and have the support that they need. So It does not offend me at all. And I think that we've got a lot of rules that need updating. Here is also, I'm just going to pop this link in. It looks like there is, I just Googled like Wyoming remote bank account services, like remote bank account setup. So I'm just going to pop that into the chat for you as well, Dr. Denise, because it looks like if you do go the route of setting up a Wyoming LLC, there are this particular, and I haven't vetted them. I have no idea if they're good or not, but you can also get support with setting up bank accounts. So if you needed a bank account set up in the state, there probably are some services. I mean, the fact that I found this one a few years ago, you couldn't. And so the fact that I found this one means that there probably are some people that are now offering that service. which
And
doesn't
for-
surprise me because I think that Wyoming is becoming an increasingly popular place to incorporate. There's another one.
Yes, and especially those who are
Oh, not that one. Sorry.
IBCs who are looking to incorporate or do business in the U.S. but are not residents.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot, and
Yeah.
what I've come up with. And oh, you said ignore that last
Ignore
one.
the last one. I thought that it was in response to my search, but it just looks like regular banking account. So let me
Oh, okay.
go back and see.
So if I choose to do so, the documents that I got for you for forming the LLC, is that sufficient enough for me to form my own in Wyoming? Because I do know Wyoming Buffalo or something like Buffalo, Wyoming, as a service.
Yeah, so you'd follow the steps. So that LLC formation guide, you'd follow the steps for setting up the LLC. And then did you also get the operating agreement?
I did, yes.
I think so. You'd put that operating agreement in place, which means you'd go through it, you'd update it with the name of your LLC that you incorporated, you'd insert dates, you'd put your own name, right? You'd fill out that paperwork and sign it. For the operating agreement, you just keep an executed copy of that in your files. You don't have to do anything with it unless you get audited. So you just execute that, you keep it in your business files, and then at any point you'd want to update that agreement if you added an additional LLC member, if you did anything to significantly change your business or add a member, because it becomes more complex if you add somebody else as an additional member of your LLC. You're basically dealing with some partnership issues at that point, and you'd want a different version of an operating agreement in place.
Yes, because I was reading through one of those documents. I've been reading so much for information and just trying to understand how shareholders, because I know the language is a little different with shareholders versus and who's operating and, you know, their share. And I was thinking, how does that work if it's when business is profitable, your shareholder, I'm just going to call it silent because I'm a lay person when it comes to a silent partner, so to speak, but there's revenues coming in, right? So how does that actually work?
Yeah, well, and it depends because shareholder usually is if you've set up a C corporation, right? Owners of a C corporation are called shareholders. Owners of an LLC, which is a limited liability company, are called members. So you can have multiple members and you can have managing members and you can have silent members in an LLC where they are, for example, they might contribute some initial funding, but they're not operating day to day. So all of this would get spelled out in the operating agreement. You're basically defining roles of the members. In a corporation, it's shareholders, there's different allocations, you can have different classes of stock, right? You can do some different things in a corporation than you can in an LLC. But an LLC also gives you a little bit greater flexibility around the management. It's not as strict. You don't have as many paperwork requirements. So a lot of times an LLC is really great for single member small businesses or even multi-member small businesses that are not planning on going public or raising outside revenue, that kind of stuff.
So, okay. So I think the language I saw was an SCorp. They're called what if they're not called members?
So an SCorp is actually not an official entity. It's a tax election status. Okay. So an SCorp, you have either formed a C corporation or an LLC, and then you make the SCorp election tax. It's basically a tax filing. You fill out a form. It's a page or two. You file it with the IRS, and it says, look, treat my LLC or treat my C corporation as an SCorp, which is kind of this combination tax treatment.
Why don't people just say that? I mean, that makes so much sense the way you put them. Like, why don't they just say that? It sounds like it's a formation, right?
Yes, and it's not. It's a tax treatment of an existing entity. So you're either an LLC or a C corp in most cases, and you've made the S election. You've opted to be treated as an S corp, which is this hybrid model from tax perspective. So it's really just a fiction in tax.
Okay. And so what do you know about, because I saw this when I read Wyoming, family something. It's not an LLC, but it's a family entity.
Is it like a family trust or a family?
It's similar to LLC. It could have been a family trust, but it's a business ran by the family. It could have a
Oh, like a
45 member.
closely held
Yes.
corporation, a closely held corporation. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, what is that? I was like, how come I'm just now finding about this? And I've been in the entrepreneur realm for years. And I'm like, oh,
Yes. It's
so,
so a closely held corporation usually has a limited number of shareholders. It's not like some of the other corporations that are big, have unlimited shareholders. And they're also usually the stock is not publicly traded on an exchange. So they're a corporation that is filed and created, but they don't go public with it where people can buy and sell their stock. And so a closely held corporation are often formed by families that want to hold a family business in the family for a while. And like most of the decision makers and people are in the family or very close to the family.
how are in their tax based on by LLC, or is that?
It depends. So a C corporation can make a tax election status just like, other entities can. You can elect to be taxed as a partnership. You can elect to be taxed as an SCorp. It really depends how they're structured and what tax elections they've made.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. And all
Yeah.
states have that, right?
Most do. Yes. There are some variations in certain entities from state to state, but usually not on the main ones. You're gonna see them in some of the more peripheral type of entities. So there's a wider variety of entities than just LLC, C corps, S corps, but they don't get talked about unless you're doing very specific kinds of work. I mean, and most states have nonprofits as well, but there can be limited partnerships. General partnerships is not generally an incorporated entity. It's just two people come together and do business, and it's called a general partnership. So there are other types of sometimes partnerships and different entities that can be formed in certain states, but mostly across all of the states, they're going to be very similar.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. But LLC is like the most protected for liability purposes.
They're all protective so long as you're compliant with the rules that apply. You have to do what's called corporate governance, which means make your annual filings. If you're having, meetings among decision makers of the company, you have meeting minutes. Like you have to go by the book. You have to track and make sure that you're keeping your financial records separate from your personal finances, right? Because there's this term commingling and piercing the corporate veil. And so a lot of people will make the mistake of like, oh, I set up an LLC and I'm incorporated with the state, but then they don't go set up a separate set of bank accounts and a separate set of books for their company. And they're basically funding using their personal finances, funding the business. And so their personal finances and the business finances are one and the same. So you don't really want to be in that scenario.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally. You're welcome. Well, great to see you again today. I see Kathleen and Glenn are on. Kathleen, did you have a question for me?
I just wanted to say hello. I just got back from doing grocery shopping because we have a really bad, we have a building, my apartment building has a laundromat.
Oh.
And I had a whole load of clothes stolen.
Oh, gosh.
From it. My winter, because I don't have that many winter clothes, so I only had one sweater left. Everything was stolen.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Kathleen.
So I called my friend and she took me over to Goodwill. And
did you get some replacements?
Monday has the $1.99 deal.
Oh, nice.
So I got a lot of clothes.
Oh, good.
And I spent about $50, which was only the amount I had to spend.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you got some replacements. All right, Dr. Denise said goodbye.
So I came home and I said, I wonder if I'm missing something. And I saw you and I said, I think I'll check in and see what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you said hello. Let me check in with Glenn real quick. And if he doesn't have a question, then I'm going to sign off. I've got some digging going on outside and I've got 2 kiddos upstairs. Glenn, are you still with us? Are you able to unmute? If you've got a question, I'm happy to give you some support today. And if not, no worries. We'll try to catch you next month. All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you both. Thanks so much and have a great week. Take care, Kathleen. I'm glad you got your clothes replaced.